Hello and welcome to Toolsy Waldridge Kitchen Gardener. It's now January and we can kickstart the year with sowing a load of lovely seeds. So I'm going to go through 7 seeds, vegetable seeds, that we can get growing in the month of January. I'm also going to give you a few seeds that you can sow if you're sowing for a cut flower garden, or even if you want to combine that in your vegetable garden and use that as part of your companion planting. Also as well, stay tuned for the end where I'll give you a few tips for the month, and I will also do a 360 of the vegetable garden. So the weather this winter has been pretty abominable and it's been really difficult to actually get out and do any kind of work. I was really fortunate enough to be able to get my garlic crop in before that really wet weather hit. But I've got winter garlic that I still need to go into the ground, but unfortunately the ground is so waterlogged and wet, especially because I'm on a really heavy clay soil content. I'm just not able to get that in the ground, but windows will open up. You've just got to be opportunist about your moments that you take to get your crops into the ground if you still have planting to do over the winter months. So I'm fortunate enough to have an arable farmer working on the estate where I work, and he always says to me every year, I get into a bit of a flap sometimes because the weather can work against you, but he says it always comes right. So, you know, go by how you feel inside about it. If you think the ground's too wet, don't work on it, don't walk on it. It will just compact the soil and make things worse for you in the long run. So just take your time. And the weather, although it's very changeable at the moment, we will get periods where it will settle down and you'll be able to work the land and we'll be able to achieve everything we need to achieve. And he always says to me, it always comes right in the end. And I've got to admit, he is pretty much always right all the time. So I always take that information on board and just go with what the weather's saying. We have lists of when to plant things and when to do stuff, but you've really got to go by the weather and what the soil's doing, and especially with soil temperatures, to when you're sowing and you're growing things. So try not to panic, because I know I do a lot of the time, but things will always work out in the end. So let's crack on with the seeds to sow for January. Here are my 8 seeds that you guys can be cracking on with at home to sow for the month of January. So they are chilies, aubergines and peppers. These guys will require some heat to get them going, so if you've got a heated glass house with heat mats, that would be absolutely perfect. But you can always try and kickstart them off at home and just put them on a nice bright light windowsill away from direct radiator heat. If you've got a polytunnel or you live in a sheltered environment, or wherever you're going to plant your plants, if you can cloche them to protect them from the harshest weathers, then you can still grow winter lettuce, winter radish, spinach and mangetout. Mangetout is absolutely great, especially if you've got the space in a polytunnel to put your mangetouts in. That is such an amazing vegetable to have at a very early time in the year. So they will be fruiting from March till April, even into May, if you can allow that space in your polytunnel for them. And last but not least, if you guys haven't ordered your seed potatoes, crack on and order those now. I've got my seed potatoes and they're already chitting away. So if you've ordered them and you've got them, or you're ordering them and when you do get them, start to chit them. So you want them in a nice bright place, not in direct sunlight. You want them in a frost-free environment, but you don't want them too hot, because otherwise you'll find where they sprout from the eyes in the potato, they'll get long and leggy, and you don't want that. You want nice, short, compact, stubby kind of growth from your potato. So the varieties that I've got in, which I've only got one new variety this year, so every year I trial a potato variety. So my normal potatoes that I've got are the salad Charlottes, because to me they're foolproof and they're absolutely beautiful. I've got Wiltshire, Cara, Kestrel, and my trial one this year is International Kidney, which everybody knows to be the Jersey Royal, but because we don't grow them in Jersey, they're then called International Kidney. So that is my trial potato this year, and I can keep you guys updated on that later on in the season. Here are my flowering seeds for you guys to grow in the month of January. So if you incorporate these into your vegetable garden as a companion plant, or even if you've got an area where you grow and dedicate to just cut flowers, these are the 4 seeds you guys can be cracking on with now. Sweet peas, absolutely amazing, a wonderful addition to any garden, and especially any vegetable garden. Harvest them, take them home, the smell's wonderful, they're a foolproof plant to be growing, and like I said, they're a fantastic addition to any vegetable garden. Delphiniums, especially if you sow them like right now in the month of January, you will have those flowering in June, which is absolutely brilliant, because with a lot of perennials you have to sow them the previous year to get them to flower for you that next year. So if you crack on with that, you'll have delphinium flowers. Digitalis, which is foxglove, absolutely beautiful. The bees absolutely love them, so they're a great addition and a great cut flower. And Astrantia. So Astrantia is a little bit difficult to germinate, but if you follow this, then you'll get it right straight away. So with Astrantia, sow that on a seed tray, put it into a warm glass house or on a warm windowsill. You want to keep that inside in the warm for at least 10 days. Then you want to put it somewhere cold. It needs that frost to break from the germination. So basically what you're doing is you're replicating it going through a summer as a seed in the soil, then through the winter, and those 2 processes break it from its dormancy, and you will then obviously have flowers that you can plant out. They won't flower this year, but they will flower next year. So here are my 3 helpful tips for the month of January. So when it comes to seed sowing, especially like I said with chilies, peppers and aubergines, they're quite temperamental and they need quite a high temperature to get them to germinate. So here's a little tip for you to create an environment that at low cost. So I work within my glass house, it's heated and it has a heat mat, but I still find it hard to get the temperature up to where I need to. So with a lot of chilies and peppers, they require over 20 degrees heat to get those to germinate. So all I do, and you can buy these as packs from your garden centre, is you can put a cloche over the top of your seed trays, which then creates an environment inside. It stops that top layer of the compost getting cold, and it just keeps it a more of a warmer, damper environment for those seeds to germinate and then live. So in my glass house, it can drop down to about 10, even 8 or 7 degrees, especially when we start getting into minuses. And just having those cloches over the top of those seedlings, especially during germination and once they've germinated, it just stops that plant getting hit with that real cold air temperature, and just creates like a little micro environment in there for them, and they will thrive, and then you'll have fantastic plants. So that is one of my tips for January. The second tip is, once you've chitted your potatoes, you'll have them all nicely racked up. I spray mine with a liquid seaweed fertilizer every 2 weeks. So that's just basically giving the tuber a little bit of nutrients. You don't want to spray it so much that it's drenched. You just want to give it a light spray, give it a bit of food that will bulk your tuber up before then they go into the soil. So that is my second tip. And my third tip is, you might have heard of marigolds having nematodes within the roots that then benefit the soils. So I've done a lot of research on companion planting and using marigolds, especially with potato crops. But through my research, I found a few dead ends, and then one day I just came across a marigold which is specific to nematodes, and that will be one of my trial crops this year as well, so I can keep you guys updated on how that goes. But if you are interested in the French marigold that has the good nematodes within the roots and releases those into the soil to work against those bad nematodes, I will put all the information down below on this page so you guys can look it up. And I obtained the seeds through CN Seeds which are on Instagram, and like I said, I'll put the link up for you below so you guys can do your research, and if you want to order them, you can order them. Thanks guys for watching. I hope you guys have picked up a few tips and tricks from this video, and we all crack on with seed sowing. January is a very exciting time for me. I always feel like we're on the base and we're just going to escalate up into the mania of summer with fruit and vegetables coming out of our ears. So good luck with the new growing season, and let's go and have a tour of the vegetable garden. So all in all, I think last year was a fantastic growing season. We've got purple sprouting broccoli, which has just started, and that looks like it's going to be a really good crop. The kale at the back there has been absolutely amazing. The Brussels sprouts have been absolutely hammered. They were absolutely fabulous crop, along with the carelettes, which, if you like Brussels sprouts, you like kale, definitely grow carelettes this year. They do grow very tall, so you should stake them. I obviously didn't, and a lot of mine have fallen over. Notes for this year. This bed here with the strolch on top of it, where my cod's in the way, is, if you've seen my previous video, I did tulip planting, so that is for cut flowers and just to use up a bit of space really. I've been working on my herb beds, clearing those up for the spring. Celery at the back, where it's been so mild, is still going really strong, so you get the nice, you know, lose the outer stems and take the hearts out. They're absolutely beautiful. Under this cloche here, I've just got a load of winter radish and turnips. In these 3 cloches at the back, I've got the Senchway early onion, which I sowed back in August. My glass house, which I work with for the vegetable garden. The rhubarb's starting to poke its way out. I think it's just so warm at the moment, everything's a little bit confused. I've got quite a lot of work to be doing, weeding, but the fruit cage is pretty much almost on top of that. Obviously cutting back of the raspberries in February, those autumn fruiting raspberries. I've strolched my asparagus bed. Under these cloches here, I've got my spring cabbages. They're looking really, really healthy, and I'm really happy with those. I've got to do a bit more work on my herb bed, and we are then back to the beginning. So like I say, all in all, a fantastic year, and good luck to everybody for 2020.